So this has been a video that I've been wanting to make for quite a while, and I wanted to wait till Lasengle got a couple events under their belt before I actually made this video, but it's something that I've been talking to a lot of different people in the FGO community about, and predominantly a lot of people on stream. This is something that comes up quite often, and that is how Lasengle is handling the events and kind of handling FGO right now. Now, when they first kind of took the game over, we were all a little concerned. Are they going to be a little more greedy? Are they going to be more generous than DW? Is the game going to explode or something? And I think we're starting to kind of see how they're going to run the game. Obviously, it's no surprise to anyone, and it's no big news to say that Lasengle seems to be a lot more aggressive than DW was, right? The fact that, like, at any one time, there's usually at least 2 banners up, and sometimes as much as 5 stars on rate up at any one time. They're playing the game a little more aggressively, and there's usually never a down period in the game. There's usually always something up for you to do, whether it's a Lost Belt campaign, an event, some new advanced quests were released, something along those lines. They're always trying to make sure there's never like an actual true dead week where all you have is the story banner and dailies to farm, right? So in that aspect, I do like that they're actually pushing a lot of content out of the game, but the main thing that I wanted to talk about in this video, and we could maybe do a separate video talking about how greedy they are and everything, if that is something you guys would be interested in, but I want to talk about how they're handling events, because I think as of right now, this is one of the, I don't know, most concerning things for me as someone that's been playing FGO pretty much ever since the game has come out. I think I've been playing since year 1, around when Jalter came out is when I really seriously started getting into the game. And so as someone that's been playing for that long, even though there was a lot of downtime when you were doing the DW style events, it never felt like the events were overstaying their welcome. But with the last couple of events, and I'm bringing up the Summer 7, I'm bringing up the Guda Guda mission, and then I'm also bringing up this one because I'm going to have a little bit of concern here, right? I'm kind of worried that it's going to go in the same vein as some of the other ones that we've gotten in the past couple of months. See, Lasengle kind of seems to just drop an event, you kind of wrap it up in like a week, maybe a week and a half, and then the event literally just sits there. And I don't know, I would kind of posit to everybody watching this video that that's almost worse in a way than just having a dead week, because it's like the illusion that content is there. Yes, technically it is better, because when you're doing this event, you can log in every day and you can collect your rewards. You can do a couple of missions every single day and you can make a little bit of extra tea, and it kind of functions like a mini box, right, from like a lottery event. And then same thing here, right? Even after you clean out the shop, you could still do missions, and your servants that are out on like the mountain or whatever, the little gimmick for this event, they'll still get you rewards and everything. So technically it's better, because if you're farming dailies, you're just going to go get your EXP cards and that's it. But at least with these events, you can still kind of farm these every single day, even after you finish up the shop, and you could still get some rewards. And especially in the case of this one, the game pretty much farms the material for you, as long as you just wait, 24 hours and log back in and grab your stuff. But I don't know, I kind of miss the events where, it was like the last couple of days, which was like, okay, now the story and everything is wrapped up, and not that the event was just kind of sitting there to kind of mask as if there was really something going on, because I don't know, I feel like that gets really boring, right? The last couple of events on JP, I know I have been extremely excited about, like the Summer 7, I was super gassed about. I couldn't wait to see what new servants came out. I thought the story was pretty interesting. Same thing for the Guda Guda event. I had a really fun time kind of finding out who EO was, and I was like, oh, that's Himiko's successor. This is all really cool. I had no idea who Ricky was, so I was, kind of excited to learn who she was. But then as the events would go on, and they would just keep kind of dragging out, right? And then eventually they would just stall, and they would just kind of sit there. I don't know. It just left me with this sense of disappointment and almost boredom with the game. And I think this also accumulates in a more recent blunder that I actually just don't have pulled up, but it's the Lost Belt 5.2 campaign, where that was one of the most empty campaigns I think we've ever gotten in FGO history. I mean, it was literally, you got 6 Saint Quartz from doing the interludes, and funny enough, someone in the comments actually pointed out to me, they're like, dude, it's not even 6 Saint Quartz, because everybody has access to Caligula. He's a free-to-play. And he's like, so realistically, the only thing people got was 4 Saint Quartz, because you would have gotten those other 2 from Caligula anyway, right? The point of those is to unlock them for people that don't have these limited servants, and one of those quote-unquote limited servants was a 2-star that everybody had. So it's like, compared to when we would get 4 14, 16, 20. It's like they really dropped it to 6 with like a hyphen, be like, well, actually, it's really 4 Saint Quartz. And then no servants got any buffs at all whatsoever. I understand not wanting to buff someone like Romulus because, you know, he's still pretty good as to this day, but you could still even give someone like Dioscuri a buff. You could have given literally like Europa a buff, like she could have used one. You could have given Musashi a buff, and that kind of also ties into where like Musashi was during that entire event. It's not as if Musashi was kind of the biggest thing that happened in Lost Belt 5.2. I mean, you ask people what they remember from 5.2, and it's either like the Zeus fight, the Wotamine fight, or Musashi. And spoilers if you haven't read 5.2 at this point, literally like bisecting Chaos and then just disappearing and becoming data lost. And we haven't had any information on what the heck happened to her in like, what, coming up on like 3 years now? So it's like, I don't know. I'm kind of worried for like the future. No, and I don't want to say worried because I don't want to panic anybody, but I'm a bit concerned with how Lasengle is handling events. I don't think the game is gonna like die or anything. Like, we're not going to like DEFCON Red or anything, but I'm kind of worried about how enjoyable the game is going to be going forward if this is going to be how they're going to run events, right? If they're just going to have this philosophy of, all right, every event is going to be 3 weeks. The first week, week and a half is going to be like all the story and everything. And the last week, week and a half, it's just going to be farming and you get a lot of materials, which again isn't bad because you get a lot of bang for your buck in these events, and it's almost gotten like better for how much bang for your buck you get. I mean, this one was you just logged in every single day and you got stuff. This one was like, well, you could still farm even after you finished all of the event shop, right? And there was still like the point ladder to do, but you could still at the very least make the tea stuff and still open up like kind of pseudo boxes, right? Like basically mini boxes. And then this one's going to be very similar, right? Even after you finish the event, you could still just farm missions in the event, and your servants on the mountain will still go get resources for you for each mission completed, and that still might be worth it, right? That's still pretty high value, but I don't know, because I feel like that almost boils the game down too much to farming, right? It kind of takes away from the story elements and everything for the game, which is why I feel FGO is so successful compared to other gacha games, right? It's not like Dokkan or Brave Souls, where there's really no story and they're kind of riding off of like the popularity of Dragon Ball or the popularity of Bleach. FGO is pretty much carried by like the interactions and how well the writing is for the characters in the story. And I feel like having it be like, all right, well, we're going to split it between, you know, a week of story and maybe 2 weeks of farming. I was like, I don't know. I feel like you're boiling it down and kind of losing the point and like what kind of made the game special in a way. I don't know. This is just kind of some thoughts that have been noodling around in my head for the last couple of weeks, and I didn't want to make this video until we got to see a few events that they had done. But it was like after, you know, Summer 7, I was like, well, that's kind of like their first major event since taking over. Maybe just a fluke. Then the Gouda one, I was like, it's kind of a little bit better. But then we got 5.2 and I was like, I'm a little concerned for this Halloween one. I'd like to be wrong, and maybe this Halloween event will be really fun to farm. There's always going to be fresh new content going in. But some of these events, it just feels like there should have been a part 2, right? It feels like there should have been a part 2 for like the story, which I think we were expecting for Summer 7, and we think we kind of almost got for the Gouda event. So I don't know, maybe they're just trying to get their footing. Maybe it's taking them longer than expected to actually kind of get a hold of what they want to do with FGO, but I don't know, just kind of some of my thoughts that I kind of pieced together and tried to put together for a video here for you guys. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Again, I don't want to be all doom and gloom and everything. I'm not saying that the game is going to die or anything. I'm far from saying that. I mean, I don't think FGO realistically can die. When you see like how much money the game makes, I don't think it's realistic to say the game is ever really going to die, right? I think they'll just find somebody else to run it if the current people aren't doing very well with it, right? They'll just pass it on to somebody else because as a game, it's pretty much too big, right? It's too big to just let it die out like that. But it's just more that I'm concerned with how events are going to be handled going forward in the future and how enjoyable the game is going to be if this is going to be how they actually structure and formulate their events. But again, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys have yourselves a nice day. Peace. Late, guys.